Sarah Mitchell sat in her corner office on the 42nd floor, her perfectly manicured nails drumming against the mahogany desk as she reviewed the quarterly reports. Everything about her screamed success: the designer suit, the expensive watch, the commanding view of the city skyline. At 38, she had clawed her way to the position of CEO at Henderson Industries, and she had done it by being tougher than everyone else, more demanding, more uncompromising. Compassion was for the weak, she believed, and weakness had no place in her world. Her eyes fell on the name at the bottom of one particularly underwhelming sales report: Marcus Chen. She made a mental note to deal with him first thing Monday morning. Marcus was always the one leaving early, always the one asking for schedule flexibility, always the one with excuses. Sarah had no patience for people who couldn't prioritize their careers above everything else. Before you continue, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Your support helps us bring more meaningful stories to life. Monday morning arrived with a cold precision that characterized everything about Henderson Industries. Sarah stepped out of the elevator at exactly 7:30, her heels clicking against the marble floor with military precision. She noticed Marcus Chen hurrying toward his cubicle, slightly out of breath, his tie not quite straight. It was 7:35, 5 minutes late. Again. Sarah changed her trajectory, walking directly toward Marcus's workstation. Several employees noticed and quickly buried themselves in their work, knowing what was coming. Sarah had a reputation for public reprimands, believing they served as effective warnings to others. "Mr. Chen," she said, her voice cutting through the morning murmur of the office. "How delightful of you to join us. Should we adjust our business hours to accommodate your personal schedule?" Marcus looked up, his face flushing. "I'm sorry, Ms. Mitchell. My daughter's bus was late, and I had to—" "I don't recall asking about your domestic arrangements," Sarah interrupted, her voice dripping with disdain. "What I recall is that business hour begin at 7:30, not 7:35, not 7:45. 7:30. Perhaps this concept is too complex for you to grasp." Several co-workers glanced sympathetically at Marcus, but no one dared to speak up. Marcus swallowed hard, his jaw tightening. "It won't happen again." "You're correct about that," Sarah said coldly. "Because the next time it does, you can explain your scheduling challenges to the unemployment office. Do I make myself clear?" "Crystal clear, Ms. Mitchell." Sarah walked away, satisfied that she had made her point. She didn't see the way Marcus's hands trembled slightly as he sat down, or the concerned looks from his neighboring co-workers. She didn't care to see. In her mind, she had just reinforced a standard that made her company successful. What Sarah didn't know was that Marcus Chen was a single father to 7-year-old Emma, a bright, cheerful girl who had been born with congenital heart condition. Marcus had lost his wife, Jennifer, 3 years ago to a car accident, and since then, his entire world had revolved around keeping Emma healthy, happy, and loved while managing his career. The morning bus he'd mentioned wasn't just any bus. It was a specialized medical transport that took Emma to a school equipped to handle her medical needs. Over the following weeks, Sarah continued her pattern of mockery directed at Marcus. When he couldn't attend a last-minute Friday evening meeting, she commented loudly about part-time dedication from full-time employees. When he declined to join the team for drinks after work, she suggested that perhaps he wasn't team player material. When he requested to leave early for a parent-teacher conference, she approved it with a theatrical sigh and a comment about apparently running a daycare instead of a business. Marcus endured it all with quiet dignity, never complaining, never making excuses beyond the bare minimum. He needed this job desperately. Emma's medical bills were substantial, and his health insurance through Henderson Industries was excellent. He couldn't afford to lose his position, so he absorbed Sarah's contempt like a boxer absorbing punches, staying on his feet through sheer willpower. The other employees noticed, of course. In the break room, Conversations were quiet when Sarah's treatment of Marcus came up. Some thought he should report her to HR, but everyone knew that Sarah had cultivated powerful allies on the board of directors. She had made Henderson Industries extremely profitable, and profit forgave many sins in the corporate world. Jessica Torres, a junior analyst who worked near Marcus, couldn't stand by silently anymore. One afternoon, after witnessing Sarah humiliate Marcus for taking a personal call during lunch, it had been Emma's school nurse calling about medication. Jessica approached him. "Marcus, you don't have to take this," she said gently. "What she's doing is harassment. You could document it, go to HR, maybe even get a lawyer." Marcus smiled tiredly. "I appreciate that, Jessica. I really do. But it's complicated. Emma's medical care costs more than most people make in a year. The insurance here covers it. Nowhere else will, not with her pre-existing condition. I just need to keep my head down and get through it." "That's not fair," Jessica protested. "No," Marcus agreed quietly. "But life rarely is. I learned that when I lost Jennifer. You just do what you have to do for the people you love." Jessica felt tears prick her eyes. She had heard whispers about Marcus's situation, but had never known the full story. Looking at this man, who endured daily humiliation with grace to protect his daughter, she felt a profound respect and an equally profound disgust for Sarah Mitchell. Winter arrived, and with it came complications for Emma's health. The cold weather was always hard on her heart condition. Marcus found himself needing more flexibility, more unexpected days off when Emma had medical appointments or wasn't well enough for school. Each request was met with Sarah's increasing hostility. "Mr. Chen, this is becoming a pattern I can no longer overlook," Sarah said during one particularly cold December morning. Marcus had requested an afternoon off for Emma's cardiology appointment. "Your dedication to this company appears to be entirely optional." "Ms. Mitchell, I work late every night I'm here. I've never missed a deadline, and my sales numbers are in the top 15% of the team," Marcus replied, his voice strained. "I'm asking for a few hours for a medical appointment." "A medical appointment," Sarah repeated, her tone mocking. "Let me guess, another daughter emergency." "Tell me, Mr. Chen, does your daughter have a medical condition, or is she simply as needy as her father?" The office went silent. Several people stopped working entirely, shocked at the cruelty of the comment. Marcus's face went pale, then flushed with anger. For a moment, Jessica thought he might finally lose his composure, might finally tell Sarah exactly what he thought of her. But then his expression smoothed over, returning to that practiced neutrality. "She has a heart condition," he said quietly. "She's had it since birth. The appointment is with her cardiologist. I'll make up the time this evening and this weekend if necessary." Something flickered across Sarah's face, too quick to identify. Then it was gone, replaced by her usual cold expression. "See that you do. And Mr. Chen, I suggest you consider whether this position is truly compatible with your obvious personal complications." She walked away, leaving Marcus standing there, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. Jessica wanted to go to him, to say something comforting, but the look on his face suggested he needed a moment alone. She returned to her desk, her mind whirling. Something had to change. This couldn't continue. What no one in the office knew was that Sarah's cruelty toward Marcus wasn't random. Seeing him leave early, hearing him talk about his daughter, watching him prioritize his child over his career, it triggered something in her, something she had buried deep and refused to examine. Sarah had built walls around her heart so thick that even she had forgotten what they were protecting her from. The breakthrough came on a snowy Thursday afternoon in mid-December. Sarah was leaving the office earlier than usual to attend a mandatory charity gala that Henderson Industries sponsored annually. It was a pediatric hospital fundraiser, the kind of event she normally found tedious but attended because it was good for the company's image. She was walking through the lobby of Children's Memorial Hospital, heading toward the ballroom where the gala was being held, when she heard a familiar voice. She stopped, her attention drawn to a small waiting area to her left. There was Marcus, sitting in a child-sized chair that was comically too small for him, reading a book. But it was who he was reading to that made Sarah's breath catch. A tiny girl with dark hair and enormous brown eyes sat curled against his side, her small hand clutching his sleeve. She was laughing at something in the story, her whole face lighting up with joy. But Sarah could see the medical bracelet on her thin wrist, the slight bluish tint to her lips, the specialized medical bag sitting beside Marcus's chair. This was Emma. This was the daughter Sarah had mocked, had dismissed, had used as ammunition to belittle Marcus. And she was beautiful and fragile and so clearly loved. Sarah stood frozen, watching them. Marcus's entire demeanor was transformed. The tension he carried at the office was gone. He was doing silly voices for the different characters in the book, making Emma giggle. When she coughed, a deep, rattling sound that made Sarah's chest tighten, he immediately set the book aside, rubbing her back gently, murmuring reassurances until the coughing subsided. "Better, ladybug?" Marcus asked softly. "Better, Daddy," Emma replied, her voice small but cheerful. "Keep reading. I want to know if the dragon and the princess become friends." Marcus smiled, kissed the top of her head, and continued reading. Sarah felt something crack inside her chest, a fissure in the wall she had spent decades building. She should walk away. She knew. Go to the gala. Put this moment out of her mind. Continue as she always had. But her feet wouldn't move. A nurse approached Marcus and Emma. "Emma Chen, Dr. Morrison is ready for you now." "Okay," Emma said bravely, though Sarah could see the fear flicker across her small face. Marcus stood, carefully helping Emma to her feet, gathering their belongings. "Remember what we talked about, ladybug," Marcus said, kneeling to Emma's level. "You're the bravest person I know. It's just a checkup. Dr. Morrison is going to listen to your heart, maybe do a few tests, and then we'll go get ice cream. Deal? Even though it's cold outside?" Emma asked, smiling through her obvious nervousness. "Especially because it's cold outside," Marcus confirmed. "Ice cream tastes better when it's snowing. Scientific fact." Emma laughed, a sound like bells, and took her father's hand. They walked toward the examination rooms, Marcus shortening his stride to match his daughter's slower pace. Sarah watched them disappear down the hallway, and only then did she realize there were tears streaming down her face. She made it to a bathroom before the sobs came. They tore through her with unexpected violence, years of suppressed emotion erupting all at once. She gripped the edge of the sink, staring at her reflection, this powerful, successful woman who had just been destroyed by the simple sight of a father's love for his child. Because she knew that love. She had felt it once, a lifetime ago, before she had locked it away and thrown away the key. Sarah had a daughter too. Or she had. Lily would have been 25 now if she had lived. But she hadn't lived. She had died at age 7 from leukemia, and she had died largely without Sarah present because Sarah had been building her career, had been climbing the corporate ladder, had been too busy to spend those final precious months at her daughter's bedside. Her ex-husband David had been there. David had quit his job, had held Lily's hand through the treatments, had been there when she took her last breath. And Sarah had been in a meeting, closing a deal, proving she was indispensable to her company. David had never forgiven her. She had never forgiven herself. So she had buried it, all of it, the grief, the guilt, the unbearable pain of loss. She had thrown herself into work even harder, become even colder, even more demanding. If she never cared about anything again, she reasoned she could never be hurt again. And then Marcus Chen had come along, with his daughter emergencies and his schedule flexibility and his unapologetic prioritization of his child over his career, and he had been a mirror showing her everything she had failed to be. So she had mocked him, belittled him, punished him for being the parent she hadn't been able to be. Sarah didn't go to the gala. She sat in that bathroom for 20 minutes, then walked back to the waiting area and sat down. She didn't know what she was waiting for. Exactly. She just knew she couldn't leave. An hour passed, then another. Finally, she saw Marcus and Emma emerge from the hallway leading to the examination rooms. Emma looked tired but was smiling, clutching a lollipop the nurse had obviously given her. "Ice cream time," she asked hopefully. "Ice cream time," Marcus confirmed. Then he looked up and saw Sarah. The color drained from his face. He instinctively pulled Emma closer, protective. Sarah stood up, her heart hammering. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Then Sarah did something she hadn't done in longer than she could remember. She approached them, and she was completely honest. "I owe you an apology," she said, her voice shaking. "More than an apology. I have no excuse for how I've treated you, Marcus. None. I saw your dedication to your daughter as a weakness, and I was cruel to you because of it. But it's not weakness. It's the strongest thing in the world." Marcus looked stunned. Emma looked between them, confused by the tension. "Daddy, is this a friend from work?" she asked. Marcus hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, Ladybug. This is Ms. Mitchell. She's my boss." Emma, with the unself-conscious friendliness of children, smiled at Sarah. "Hi, Ms. Mitchell. Do you like ice cream? We're going to get some because I was brave at the doctor." Sarah felt fresh tears threatening. This child, whose existence she had mocked, was smiling at her with such openness. "I do like ice cream," she managed to say, "and I bet you were very brave." "I was," Emma confirmed proudly. "Dr. Morrison said my heart is being strong, even though it has to work harder than other hearts. Daddy says I'm special." "You are special," Sarah said, and meant it with her whole heart. She looked at Marcus. Would you allow me to buy you both that ice cream? I'd like to talk to you if you're willing to listen. I'd understand if you're not." Marcus studied her face for a long moment. Sarah didn't know what he saw there, but whatever it was, he slowly nodded. "Okay, there's a place across the street that Emma loves." They walked to the ice cream shop in silence, Emma chattering happily between them about her visit with Dr. Morrison, about school, about the snow. Sarah listened to her voice, so full of life and joy despite the challenges she faced, and felt something frozen inside her begin to thaw. At the shop, Emma ordered chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream with gummy bears on top. Marcus got vanilla. Sarah ordered strawberry, though she couldn't remember the last time she'd had ice cream. They sat in a corner booth, Emma working on her elaborate creation with the serious focus children bring to important tasks. "I had a daughter," Sarah said quietly, the words feeling strange after years of silence. "Her name was Lily. She died when she was 7. Leukemia." Marcus's eyes widened. Emma, absorbed in her ice cream, didn't seem to be paying attention to the adult conversation. "I wasn't there for her," Sarah continued, staring at her untouched ice cream. "I was building my career. I told myself I was doing it for my family, that I was providing for them. But that was a lie. I was doing it for myself, for my ego, for my ambition. My husband stayed with her. He quit his job to be with her full-time during her treatment. I kept working. I missed her last Christmas because I was on a business trip. I wasn't there when she died because I was in a meeting I had convinced myself I couldn't miss." A tear dripped into her ice cream. "When I see you leaving early for Emma, asking for flexibility, putting her first, you're everything I wasn't. And instead of admiring that, I punished you for it. I'm so sorry, Marcus. I'm sorrier than I know how to express." Emma looked up, her face concerned. "Ms. Mitchell, why are you sad? Did your ice cream fall on the floor?" Sarah laughed through her tears. "No, sweetheart. I'm sad about something that happened a long time ago." Emma considered this seriously, then reached across the table and patted Sarah's hand with her small, sticky one. My daddy says it's okay to be sad sometimes. He says we have to feel our feelings. And then we have to have ice cream and feel better. Your daddy is a very smart man, Sarah said, looking at Marcus. She's an amazing kid, Marcus said softly. I'm sorry about your daughter, Sarah. I can't imagine that pain. I brought it on myself, Sarah said bitterly. Grief isn't punishment, Marcus replied. And from what you've told me, it sounds like you've been punishing yourself for years. Maybe it's time to stop. They talked for over an hour. Emma, finishing her ice cream, moved to culling on the kids' menu the restaurant provided. Sarah told Marcus about Lily, really talked about her for the first time in nearly 2 decades. She told him about Lily's laugh, her love of butterflies, her habit of singing made-up songs. Marcus listened without judgment, sharing his own stories of Emma, of the challenges and joys of single parenthood, of losing Jennifer and finding the strength to continue. How do you do it? Sarah finally asked. How do you stay so patient, so present with her, while managing everything else? Marcus smiled sadly. Because I know how quickly it can all disappear. Jennifer was here one day and gone the next. Life is fragile. Sarah, Emma's condition reminds me of that every single day. So I don't take our time together for granted. The career stuff, the money, the success, it's all just noise compared to the sound of her laughing or the feel of her hand in mine. Sarah nodded, understanding. I forgot that, or I never really knew it in the first place. It's not too late to remember, Marcus said gently. Emma yawned hugely, and Marcus checked his watch. We should get you home. Ladybug. It's past your bedtime. As they prepared to leave, Sarah touched Marcus's arm. I meant what I said about apologizing, and I want to do more than just say I'm sorry. Starting Monday, I'm implementing a comprehensive flexible work policy at Henderson Industries. Remote work options, flexible hours for parents and caregivers, expanded family leave. I should have done it years ago. Marcus looked surprised. Sarah, you don't have to. Yes, I do, she interrupted. Not just for you, for everyone. I've been running that company like compassion and humanity are weaknesses. They are not. They are what make us strong. You've shown me that. Thank you, Marcus said simply. Emma, holding her father's hand, looked up at Sarah. Will you come have ice cream with us again? I like you. Sarah's eyes filled with tears again. I would love that, Emma, if your dad says it's okay. It's okay, Marcus confirmed. More than okay. Over the following weeks and months, Sarah transformed. The changes at Henderson Industries were just the beginning. She started therapy, finally addressing the grief and guilt she had carried for so long. She reached out to her ex-husband, David, and though their conversation was painful, it was also healing. He had remarried and had 2 children. He had found happiness, and he hoped she could too. Lily wouldn't want you to keep punishing yourself, David told her during that conversation. She loved you, Sarah, even when you weren't there. She always asked for you. Maybe it's time to honor her memory by becoming the person she believed you were. Those words stayed with Sarah. She began volunteering at Children's Memorial Hospital, reading to children in the oncology ward. It was agonizing at first, bringing back memories of Lily so vividly she could barely breathe. But it was also redemptive, offering comfort to families going through what she had experienced. Her relationship with Marcus evolved from boss and employee to genuine friendship. She became part of his and Emma's life, attending Emma's school events, having regular ice cream outings, being present in ways she had never allowed herself to be before. Emma, with the incredible resilience of children, accepted Sarah's presence with uncomplicated joy. 6 months after that encounter at the hospital, Emma had a health crisis. Her heart condition worsened suddenly, and she needed emergency surgery. Marcus called Sarah from the hospital, his voice breaking, and Sarah dropped everything to be there. She sat with him during the 8-hour surgery, holding his hand, praying to a God she wasn't sure she believed in anymore, bargaining with the universe to spare this bright, beautiful child. When the surgeon finally emerged to say the surgery had been successful, that Emma would need time to recover but should be okay, Sarah and Marcus collapsed into each other, crying with relief. Jessica from the office had come too, along with several other co-workers who had grown to love Marcus through his quiet strength and dedication. The waiting room was full of people who cared, who had shown up in a moment of crisis. "This is what I was missing," Sarah said to Jessica as they watched Marcus finally get to see Emma in recovery. "Community, connection, love. I thought I didn't need it. I thought being strong meant being alone." "You're not alone anymore," Jessica replied, squeezing her hand. Emma's recovery was slow but steady. Sarah visited almost daily, bringing books and puzzles, just sitting with Emma when she was too tired for activities. She watched Marcus navigate the challenges of his daughter's recovery with the same grace and patience he brought to everything, and she learned from him. She learned that strength isn't about never being afraid or never needing help. It's about showing up anyway, about loving fiercely even when you know how badly loss can hurt. A year after their first ice cream outing, Sarah stood in front of Henderson Industries Board of Directors and made an announcement. She was restructuring her role, hiring a co-CEO to share responsibilities, so she could reduce her hours and focus more on the hospital volunteer work that had become central to her life. The board was shocked. The old Sarah would never have voluntarily given up any control or power. But she wasn't the old Sarah anymore. That woman had been hollowed out by grief and guilt, had armored herself with cruelty and ambition. This new version of herself was softer, yes, but also stronger in the ways that actually mattered. "I spent years believing that success meant sacrificing everything else," she told the board. "I was wrong. Real success is balance. It's building a company that values its people as human beings, not just productive units. It's creating a culture where people like Marcus Chen can be both dedicated employees and devoted parents. That's a legacy I want to leave." The board approved her plan, partly because the company had actually become more profitable under her new, more humane leadership. Turns out people work better when they are treated with respect and compassion. Who knew? On Emma's 9th birthday, Sarah brought a special gift to the party Marcus threw, a small backyard gathering with Emma's friends and the extended work family from Henderson Industries who had become real family. The gift was a photo album Sarah had put together, filled with pictures of Lily. "I want you to know about her," Sarah told Emma, sitting with her on the porch while the party continued in the yard. "Her name was Lily, and she was brave like you. She loved butterflies and singing and strawberry ice cream. And she taught me, even though I didn't realize it until much later, that love is always worth the risk of loss." Emma, mature beyond her years in the way children facing serious illness often are, looked through the photos carefully. She was pretty, like you. "You think I'm pretty?" Sarah asked, surprised. "Very pretty," Emma confirmed. "Especially when you smile. You smile a lot more now than you used to. Daddy told me you used to be sad all the time, but now you're happier." Sarah blinked back tears. "I am happier. You know why." "Why?" "Because of you and your dad. You taught me how to be brave again, how to love again, even though it's scary." Emma considered this, then threw her arms around Sarah's neck in an enthusiastic hug. "I love you, Aunt Sarah." It was the first time Emma had called her that. Sarah held the small body close, feeling the steady if imperfect beat of Emma's repaired heart against her chest, and she wept. But they were good tears, healing tears, tears that washed away years of frozen grief. "I love you too, sweetheart," she whispered. "So much." Marcus found them like that a few minutes later. He sat down beside them, and Emma, with the casual affection of a loved child, climbed into her father's lap while keeping one hand in Sarah's. "Thank you," Marcus said quietly to Sarah, for everything you become, for being here. Thank you, Sarah replied, for showing me the way back. They sat together as the sun set, this unconventional family bound not by blood but by something stronger, by choice, by forgiveness, by love learned through pain and practice with intention. Sarah thought about the woman she had been, the CEO who had mocked a single father daily, who had seen his devotion to his daughter as weakness rather than strength. That woman was gone, transformed by the very thing she had once ridiculed. Emma's laughter rang out across the yard as her friends played, the sound of pure joy. Sarah closed her eyes and listened, and for the first time in nearly 20 years, she felt at peace. She couldn't change the past. She couldn't go back and be the mother Lily had needed. But she could honor Lily's memory by being present now, by loving the people in her life with a fierce, uncompromising devotion she had once reserved only for her career. The mockery had broken her open, but through that brokenness, light had finally found its way in. And she had discovered that being broken isn't the end of the story. Sometimes it's just the beginning of becoming whole.